Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Baños Jordan, president and founder of the Texas Familias Council, and I'm really excited to be having this community conversation today with an amazing group of young adults from our community. I will say that my son, Alec Jordan, is joining us for full disclosure. But I wanted to invite young adults to discuss with us their thoughts and feelings about the pandemic, but also about all the issues surrounding COVID-19 and the vaccinations, because certainly every generation is being impacted by this historic pandemic. But I believe Gen Z definitely is going to be holding the keys moving forward, since they will be basically dealing with what comes next and how we respond to future issues with healthcare and the impacts of this pandemic going forward. So every opinion matters and is respected. So there's no right or wrong answer or response. I just really want to get your true, honest opinions about what you see surrounding these issues, because you will be shaping policy in the future and your voices matter. So what I have discovered is, according to the CDC, young adults between the ages of 18 to 24 are 58% fully vaccinated, and this is nationwide. So that's slightly above half, but that's not certainly the numbers we would like to see. So that brings to our attention the need to reach and have these conversations with your generation, and to kind of get an idea of what you're hearing and what are some of the issues that might be impacting your decisions either to vaccinate or not. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and so this is going to be very casual. But first we'll begin by introducing you each, and so we'll just go around the group here, and if you can give us your name and your age. We can start with Addie.
Hi, I'm Adalyn Ramirez. I am 26 years old, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
I guess we'll just go in alphabetical order. I'm Alec Jordan. I'm 22 years old, and I am also happy to be here.
You are our only male representative right now. We do have another gentleman, but he had technical difficulties, so maybe he'll be able to join us.
Hi, my name is Ana Vergara, and I'm 21 years old, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Garcia, and I'm 19 years old, and I'm excited to be a part of this.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to pose the first question. How has the pandemic affected your life and life decisions? You each are kind of at the beginning points of starting your careers or your college educations, and so major decisions, and then this happens. So how has that affected you? And anybody can jump in.
I think it's just really made me more aware of just like how many people there are around me, because usually it's just like, it used to be like when you walked into a crowded room, you just sort of had to it wasn't a big deal or anything, but now when you walk into a room, you have to be conscious of where everyone is, where you are in relation to them, having a mask on. I think it's just made like just physical, or me at least, more physically aware of my surroundings. So, and also obviously made me more hygiene conscious, with just like constantly sanitizing, keep my mask on in public. So that's basically what I've experienced.
Okay. Somebody else? How has the
go?
Hi there, Ms. Amel. If you don't mind, I'll just if you can give me your name and how old you are as we're continuing.
Hi, I'm Muzammil. I've been a friend of Alex for a long time, so that's how I know Miss Maria, and I am 23 years old.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
All right, so the question is, how has the pandemic affected your life and life decisions?
Okay. I mean, life decisions, I think we all have decided to be more cautious about who we interact with or how often we interact with people. Let me show my face. But another thing is, I think we've all realized, like, especially with work, there are other ways to be more efficient and effective working we don't have to drive as much or go into the office as much. We can work from other locations, or even take it a little bit slower now that we have the ability to work from home. So I think that's a few ways that the pandemic has affected.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
For me, it made me appreciate more like what I have, for example, like my family, and not being, whenever I do something, it's not about me always. It's also for other people. So for example, put my mask on, not only for others, as well as like online classes. I don't like online classes from the beginning, and they made me appreciate more in-person classes. So being in a class, my desk and everything is really something that I didn't do before, and now I do. So it's more about being more conscious about my surroundings.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, if I hop on, can you hear me?
Yes.
Personally, it's affected me in many ways since I had just basically had begun like my career, if you will. I noticed that we place so much emphasis on like your career and where you stand, but that with the pandemic itself kind of like shifted the perspective, at least for me. It's like it's not so much what you do in life, it's more so like what you're doing for others. So like even with sanitizing and like being conscious about keeping others safe more than yourself,
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jocelyn?
And to and to add up what Addie and Anna said, like it has made me appreciate more about community service, because the pandemic showed how much people needed our, like, let's say the food line. It was a big help for a lot of families, and it provided food when they were like out of work, when a lot of jobs, a lot of people were going basically without work. And then it was an honor to be able to provide that hope for people that when they were losing family members. So it was like it made me appreciate more people.
Wonderful, wonderful answers. Thank you. So we're coming on a year since the vaccine was introduced to the public. So what were your first thoughts about the COVID-19 vaccine when it was introduced a year ago? Do you remember what you were thinking about it as you were considering what decisions you might make?
Well, personally, I was thinking more of my family. I know that my dad, he's a diabetic, so I knew that we had to keep him safe, and his health was a major priority to our family. So I thought anything that could keep them safe, I was very thankful, and I counted it as a blessing just to be able to have anything to protect or to help us just reach some sort of like what is it? Not immunity, but to be able to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? What were your first thoughts about the vaccine?
I was really happy that the vaccine came out. I remember whenever I was reading about the news in the CDC website, I immediately told my mom, I immediately told my dad, I was like, we need to get the vaccine. We did some research about what was the vaccine and what different types of vaccine there were. At the beginning, we wanted like a specific one, but then we saw that it was harder and harder to get it at the beginning because like there were groups who were getting it first. And once we could get the vaccine, we didn't care what if it was Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson. We were just happy to have that blessing, like Addie said. And since in my family there's health issues, we were happy we had that security of helping the community to stop the spreading and also to protect our.
Anyone else remember?
Yeah, I remember like Anna was saying, like when it was first being developed, just every day, just checking the news just to see if like they had actually finished the vaccine. And it was just like, get it out so we can take it. It's it felt like almost like a race against coronavirus, just like the buildup of the vaccine and whatnot. But I mean, even after like however many years of having the vaccine, we're still kind of here. So I guess the race wasn't, I don't know. It's a little bit of a longer race, I think, than what I initially anticipated.
Yeah, because if y'all remember, we had already been living with the pandemic for a year. So we went through that first rough year of feeling very disempowered and like no protection other than, face masks and social distancing. So we'd already been through that. So. Anybody else have any thoughts on remembering what were your first thoughts when the vaccine came out? Yes, Ms. Mo.
I can go next. So it was actually kind of weird because so I volunteered at a hospital and I got offered it in the trial stage. But I remember that my family and my parents and just like most people I know, they were very skeptical. But I was just like, how do you not? I was a little upset because you have to put your faith in science, just there's only one way to overcome some stuff and you have to kind of put your faith in it. So I think there's like conflicting opinions, but I definitely think it's good coming from my standpoint, but also I know everyone has their own preferences and there's always a little skepticism because of how quickly it came out. So,
right.
Yeah, when I first heard of it, I had a little bit of doubt, like he said, but then once I did, because I wasn't informed as much, so I did my research, like to make sure it was also safe for my family and I. So once I found out that it was good for like we got it as soon as possible, and I even got my family registered with Maria, and so they were able to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
Good. So yeah. So those were tough times. Thinking back now that we were at that point of not knowing what we were having to do, or just trusting, like Ms. Mel said, trusting science to help us. Were you? You've all kind of expressed that you were mostly all eager to get vaccinated, and for the different reasons why. So did you all get vaccinated as soon as you were eligible?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What about your peers? Oh, you got vaccinated.
I actually waited a little bit. I don't know why.
Oh, so you did, even though you had an opportunity to get it earlier.
Yeah, I think it was laziness, to be honest with you. I waited 3 months after my friends and colleagues got it. I don't know why, but
so you were using your friends as guinea pigs.
Yes and no. I would say yeah.
You gave them a 3-month trial to see what happened.
Yeah. So don't tell the government. I'm on their side.
What about your peers? What do you hear? What do you feel like other fellow Gen Zs think about the vaccination? And they're either reluctant to get it still, or were they eager like you guys, or what are you hearing?
And most of the time, I feel that it's either that they want it no matter what, or they're just waiting to see this, if there's any side effects or the outcome of it. Basically, I really don't interact with a lot of, or just at least in my group, I don't interact with a lot of people who are adamantly against getting the vaccine. I feel like I see enough of them on social media where it's okay, well, I don't know where you guys are, but but most of the people who I interact with are pretty they've either gotten the vaccine and are going to continue to get it, or they're just they've gotten one and they're just waiting to see what happens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 and then waiting on the booster. Or
Anybody else? How is your peer group? How have they responded to the vaccine?
Well, my peer group is, I've seen like the whole spectrum, if you will. I have most of my close friends and people that I interact with, they are for the vaccine. They're like, how could you not get it? But I've also interacted with people who are completely against it, and they find different theories or reasons to have that skepticism of like, should I get it or should I not? And the way that I see it, it's like kind of like Ismail, like he was saying that he kind of used his friend groups as guinea pigs. Well, like if you take it like that, it's like I'll be the guinea pig and I'll put myself in that position of like, I'm gonna go out there and prove that this is actually very helpful. And more so, like for me, I don't put my faith so much in science. It's like, for me, like I'm a believer, so like I know that God's like through everything. So it's like, you know.
So, anybody else? Thank you, Addie. Anybody else?
So for me, the majority of my peers they were also eager, and whenever we saw like that were offering the vaccines, we were like, "Here, help! They're offering the vaccines, and you can bring your whole family and stuff like that." So we were all very eager to get the vaccine, but I did had some friends that did not want to get the vaccine. And I remember once telling them, but when you went to high school, if you didn't have a vaccine, you had to get it in order to get to high school. So it wouldn't, if they mandate the vaccine, it wouldn't be the first time that they mandate a vaccine. It's for the public safety. And with all the technology that we have going on, yes, it had a period of produce, but with the that we have, it's easier to develop something. Even phones, like each year, phone develops, or even in months. So with the technology that we have and the knowledge that we have of how viruses work and bacteria and stuff, it's easier for us to produce something for our immune system. So yeah, there's like diversity, but most they're eager with me to get the vaccine.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, and for me, I had like very little friends that took the vaccine, and then I had my other half of friends that did not believe in the vaccine. They thought like one of the theories is like the government's trying to control us, you know, and then they thought it was like a cure for the coronavirus. But like it's not gonna cure it. But I mean, I told them like for what I researched, I informed them like, hey, it's not for cure, it's, you know, to make your body be, you know, getting used to immune to the coronavirus. And I guess they were just like driven by the theories and all that stuff that was being misinformation to them. So I guess that's why a lot of them did not like want to take the vaccine.
And I would say too, it was interesting because you all kind of had talked about you know, understanding kind of the science and trusting a little bit between your faith and science and the mixture of those things. And we're all getting a crash course in science, aren't we? And even watching the variants kind of evolve is teaching us how viruses work, how they actually continue to survive, and how they're extremely efficient in surviving. So it's you know, life has a way of you know, showing us these things. What about your family? Several of you mentioned, you know, your first thoughts were, you know, protecting your family and making sure they were okay. Has anybody had any differences in opinions within the family?
Not really.
No.
No. I know the littlest one, that's 8 years old in my family. Like he was just like, as soon as I can get vaccinated, like let me know. So yeah, he was on top of it, telling my mom like, I need to get my vaccine.
Anybody else? And anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe even with extended family members, sometimes cousins or other family members might have different opinions. Maybe not in your immediate household. Did anybody have to deal with that?
I have something. I think a big thing with my family, what I've noticed is like the attitude towards the vaccine has changed, especially with the new variant. I think they've kind of been like vaccines are a godsend to now they've been like, oh, what's the point of even getting vaccinated? Where, you know, everyone's getting it, you know, positives, asymptomatic positives, and it's a little bit hard because I'm like, it doesn't matter if you have symptoms or not, just get the vaccine. But, you know, that's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's especially with these new variants that kind of sometimes take off on their own and have a different response to vaccines. It is presenting challenges on how we think about it, but again, it comes back to kind of trusting that space between science and faith and everything else that that you're able to research. What about cultural influences? We're a diverse group here, and we represent different communities and, different backgrounds. And culture does tend to impact our decision making in everything in life. Do you feel like there were any cultural influences in responding to the vaccine, like traditions as far as how families deal with health or medicine or holistic medicine, that sort of thing?
I see that like from my family, the culture, like we always trusted science as well as God. We were, well, if God provided us all the knowledge that we know throughout experience and everything, we were able to do the vaccine. We should get it. There's an opportunity, it's a blessing. And most of my family lives in Mexico, so they were angry at the Mexican government because they were taking their sweet time on getting the vaccine to them. And whenever we told them, no, we already got the vaccine, we're on our 2nd shot, and we already got our booster, they were like, we are barely getting our 2nd shot. So some of them wanted to get that opportunity, that governmental opportunity that is here in the United States to get the vaccine safe and to help the community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any thoughts on culture and its influence on taking vaccines? I notice sometimes when I talk to women in some of our communities, we have a lot of discussion about our grandmothers and their remedies for the hot teas and the hierbas and all the mixtures and stuff that our abuelitas would make for us when we were sick or had a tummy ache. And I notice when we're talking about COVID-19, it does come up quite a bit as far as, if not so much remedies, but treatment, and comfort treatment, especially when people are having all the symptoms or they've been sick. Have you guys encountered that also, either within your families or in your communities?
I have. But that was the first thing that my mom just like rushes to whenever one of us feels sick. So had it been in a situation where we didn't have like a vaccine or anything, that's the first thing that she would run to. So
yeah. Anyone else? Do you think those types of that culture, maybe not so much for you or in your family, but in other families, have you heard where that has kind of been the go-to for some people instead of taking a vaccine?
I saw a interesting thing at the beginning. Whenever I got a cold, it was like the Vic Vaporru, taking a lot of vitamin C, a lot of oranges, lime, everything. And now with COVID, it was like a mixture, or it was like a cultural impact, because we got the vaccine, but now if someone gets it in the family, or like to prevent it, we take still a lot of vitamin C. And then I heard some family take really concentrated ginger juices. It says like it burns their throat and everything, but it helps. And um, also like to put some hierbas in the shower so you can breathe better and stuff like that. So it's like a mixture of having the vaccine, but also having those remedies to sort of help the body to heal or to prevent getting sick. So boost your immune as well as the shot.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like kind of like you said, a mixture of using the tools of science, but also ancient knowledge that has been passed down, from generations. So yeah, it's interesting. All right. What as far as getting vaccinated today, now you guys, I think all are vaccinated, but if you had to get the vaccine, do you think it would be easy to access the vaccine for most people? Or is it still difficult to find locations or places?
I think it's relatively easy. I mean, like I said, as soon as my 8-year-old brother was able to qualify for the vaccine, we set up an appointment, and thankfully he's been vaccinated as well.
So everybody thinks it's fairly accessible to people today.
Yeah, I think it's fairly accessible. I think for people who like aren't already like in the vaccination system, they might be overwhelmed with trying to find. Even though it's easy, they might just be overwhelmed with trying to like look for somewhere and be like maybe even a little intimidated. I don't know.
Do you have
more intimidation?
More intimidation. Do you have locations like for your age groups, like on campus or near your workplaces that you could go in, pop in and get a shot if you needed to? Or
yeah, on campus, there's testing and vaccination sites, and over where I work, they're just like little pop-up vaccination or both vaccination and testing tents, just like sometimes on the streets. So.
Do y'all think that that's effective as far as having something available like that?
I also want to speak on Alec's behalf.
Yes.
At UT, there are a bunch of testing sites too. And so I think, I think it is effective. I don't know, Alec, what do you think?
I think at least like the testing sites are always packed. Like whenever you look on campus, there's always like a line. Less so for the vaccinations, but like it's sort of like a different flow of people, I guess.
You know what I've noticed, which is kind of funny? 2-3 years ago, when people got sick, they would never be like, "Oh, it's just a cold," or they would be like, "It's a cold." They don't look at like a sinus infection or strep throat. Only if it hurt really bad. Now I feel like when people get sick, the first thing is COVID, and they're getting tested pretty much same day or within the hour. So I think that's a good jump, I would say.
Yeah, taking it a lot more seriously whenever they see symptoms.
Yeah, they don't just brush it off as it's like under the weather or just simply tired. It's surprising, but I think it might be effective in determining, like, what if you don't have COVID? You might have strep, but now because you think you have the symptoms, you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. So what is what as far as boosters, because we are now well into the whole booster piece for most people. I think the last group that was approved was the 12 to 15-year-olds that are now eligible for booster shots. What are your thoughts on the booster shot and future booster shots in dealing with COVID?
I don't mind getting shot up every once in a while, It's no big deal.
just keep them coming, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Just stick it in me, dog.
I think it's much like Anna was saying, at the beginning when she was explaining how with different illnesses and whatnot, like medicine continues to like change. And so, like Alec was saying, I don't mind getting shot. Like if I have to be the guinea pig, then make me be the guinea pig.
Anybody else?
I say it's not the first time in history that we get boosters. There's so many vaccines that we need boosters, and there are some that are like 3, 4. For example, hepatitis B is the most common one, and also you get the TDAP. Every you have to get a booster, so really is not something new. And I think we need to teach people more about that, about the boosters, that even when you're a baby, you need to get boosters every 2 years, every few months, to get that immune system, that exposure from the disease in some way. And it's better to get the vaccine because it's safer to get the, the disease. For example, tuberculosis, that one, if you get exposed, you can get damage in your thoracic area. So I think, yeah, just keep it coming. I'll be glad to get more shots, get strong, maybe be the titan of the vaccines.
There you go, a new title. Yes, Isabel.
Yeah, so I was actually I agree with everyone. I recently read a study that repeated boosters within a smaller time frame will actually make the immune system weaker in the long run. So after I read that, I feel like boosters are great, but I feel like some countries are pushing them almost at an unprecedented rate to combat COVID. It's kind of in the long run hurting people. Like the study was by Israel because they've introduced a fourth booster into a certain age group, and they've already said how there's a possibility that natural immunity could be decreased in this age group if they keep getting boosters within a certain time frame. And I know we all think that, or we all know that WHO has kind of decreased, or CDC, whichever one, decreased the amount of time. First it was 6 months, and now it's 5. So I agree with boosters, but I think there needs to be a certain like regulation how often. We can't just be pushing out boosters for every variant. At the end of the day, that's what I think. Yeah, but for sure, once a year with the flu, I think that's cool.
Yeah, and that's a very good point in the sense that we're learning as we go, right? In response to this, and we sometimes have an overly aggressive reaction without really being patient with the natural response to our immune system and a new virus. So that's a kind of a trial and error and being patient and watching it, because you're right. There is a lot of science that's coming out as far as the timing of effectiveness. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree, because I mean, in our family, we don't use medication. Like even with my dad's diabetes, like we try to keep it as natural as possible, using like remedies, if you will, to boost our immune system and to try to get our bodies to a certain place where it can fend for itself. So I think I agree. Like if you keep on like boosting your body, it might end up counteracting. Like it might affect you in a way that is negative instead of positive. So
Alec can be our guinea pig for, as he's just going to take all the boosts that come, and we'll see what
I'll take every vaccine.
Goodness. You could actually get paid for that. Those are testing trials, right?
Your own.
Okay, so what's your biggest fear going forward about COVID-19 and our current response to it, or what our response has been? What's your biggest fear?
I guess you can go first, Daddy.
Oh, thank you. I think that my biggest concern is just the fact that we have information at our fingertips, yet we listen to outside sources instead of doing like what Jocelyn was saying, kind of like research, and make sure that these the research that you do is viable, like that you trust the sources that it's coming from, that it's not just like, oh, the media is saying this, or so and so just said this, or I saw this happen, and whatnot. It's like, no, like inform yourself and make a decision based off of what you researched.
Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say. Just like I'm afraid that people will continue not to either take it seriously or just continue the flow of misinformation that there is about it, because that's, I mean, obviously the biggest problem that we have right now is the continuation of different virus strains, just because people just listen to whatever podcast guy that they're listening to talk about how the virus is a hoax or how vaccines aren't effective, and it's just really harmful to the population in general when even a small minority of people don't realize it as a threat.
Any other thoughts on your fear?
My biggest fear is losing more people. Uh, Like, we see the news and we see numbers, but we don't realize those numbers are maybe a newborn, a mother, including a daughter, a grandfather. They're people. They're someone. They have lives. They have families. So my fear is having like rising people, like death, and the like the misinformation and just like the bias that there's nothing we could do, because we can, by wearing our masks, vaccinations, stuff like that, help each other to prevent the loss of someone that we love.
Thank you. Anyone else about fears about the COVID?
I mean, my fear is like, I feel like we're going to get passive with this, as you can see in society already. Like, we just always have to actively strive to keep some type of hygienic rules going, I think this has all kind of helped us sneeze in our mask or, wash our hands more frequently than before. And I think those are general hygiene rules that we should have carried on before COVID, but maybe COVID will help us understand that this is necessary to just, keep society a little bit safer.
Any fears?
Yeah, well, my fear is that people might start thinking that just because they got the vaccine, it gives them a reason to stop taking care of their surroundings, like stop wearing a mask, like not sanitizing. Like, it's just they need to contribute with each other. Like, we have to still take care of each other, and then keep keeping sanitized where we work, where we go, because it's our job to, as humans, to take care of each other.
Yes, I agree.
So I guess my fear is to just not stop taking care of each other, basically.
Right. Yeah, I think I have learned certainly over the last couple of years, but I do think that there are huge lessons in dealing for humanity when we're faced with pandemics. It's not the first time, obviously, we've faced major pandemics, and it won't be the last. And so there are things about learning how to interact, coexist, problem solve together that is much more effective and powerful than people kind of being divisive or not caring for each other or just watching out for themselves. And it's hard to do, has it been hard for you guys? I mean, if you remember back, how it was 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago, how life was, where you would go into a room and not have to pay attention to how many people or how closely you were standing, or, didn't have to think twice about whether you were going to go to a party or out to dinner with your friends. There was no concerns about eating outside or inside or, any of those things that today just seems to be kind of, part of how we think. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a major lifestyle change for everyone, and it's not easy to have to be patient with these things, but
trying to look out for one another. So I think that's what led to maybe finding a common ground and ending the Spanish flu. So
yeah, I mean, and I think what we're learning even with these variants that we've been hit with just recently is that viruses do have a time frame of changing, right? They adapt. And so it's not something that we're used to immediate gratification, and we want a quick pill or answer to when we don't feel well. And nature is showing us that not everything works like that, right? So we have to have some humility, I guess, in living, coexisting, and moving what I suspect will be moving from a pandemic to an endemic disease. And so, yes, there's going to continue to be a need for us to work together and adapt and take care of ourselves and one another. So, well, as we're wrapping up, guys, I loved all your answers. Thank you so much for sharing your honesty. And were there any other thoughts you wanted to share as far as health and taking care of yourselves, or moving forward in this pandemic and everything?
Just as Lemuzmel was saying, I really do hope that we keep sort of the hygiene standards that we've sort of redeveloped really over the course of this, and I hope we are able as a society to just continue to keep those and normalize it. I mean,
as far as your last thoughts, I didn't ask you, but did you have anyone that was affected severely or passed from COVID-19 over the last 2 years?
I had several family members and close relatives that have passed due to COVID, and that was part of our decision as into why we believe it's a blessing that we were able to get some sort of immunity, or able to protect ourselves against the virus, because we saw it they didn't have that opportunity when they were infected. It was towards the beginning of the pandemic, so we believed in the fact that maybe they wanted that opportunity, and unfortunately they didn't have it. So we kind of took it with that faith of maybe if they were in our shoes, they would have done what they could to protect themselves. And so yeah, it was very difficult navigating through that, but yeah, thankfully we're still in the process of trying to inform other people and trying to see what's best for the community in general.
Thank you. Anybody else go through loss these past couple of years of anybody you knew or family members? No. Yeah.
Well, my grandpa from my dad's side, he actually passed away, I think a year ago. And my dad was one of those people who did not strongly believe in the pandemic. And then, so I guess my grandpa's death was a eye opener for him to realize wow, this is actually affecting a lot of people. So now, thank God, they're vaccinated and taking care of themselves. It's not upsetting, but sad that they had to learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, and we've seen it right in the communities that we serve, that a lot of sickness and death, children being left behind because the parents have passed away unexpectedly. So yeah, so I can't even imagine how you're having to make decisions and how you're having to adapt, and how sometimes you're at the mercy of the people, the decision makers that don't always aren't listening to everyone in the community. So that is difficult. And so I appreciate you guys and everything that you're doing, and that you're moving forward. And I think that is actually going to shape your generation, unlike any other generation. I think that is going to make you very, very resilient, and very insightful in ways that previous generations haven't had to. And so when I always tell Alec, when I'm old and I'm going to expect all that newly gained knowledge and wisdom to be present and taking care of me in my fading years. And so hopefully he will we'll step it up. But anyway, thank you guys for sharing your thoughts and your feelings. And I hope that this discussion helps others to maybe have these conversations at home or with their friends, or those people studying these things to kind of take into account just the multitude of ideas and thoughts and perceptions as we're working our way through this pandemic. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you all soon again and in person very soon. And keep taking care of yourselves.
Yep, you guys too.
Thank
It was
you
nice,
all so much.
nice
Thank
talking.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Have a great one.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you all.
Bye-bye. Love you too.